Hey everyone, welcome to the Hobby Grotto. Red may not be my favourite colour, but it's very common in Warhammer and it's such a pleasure to paint. Now, a lot of that has to do with the quality of GW's reds, and we're going to have a little look today. Now, there's no better red to start with than Khorne red, which is not only a fantastic colour in its own right, but is also the perfect base for pretty much any red you may be working on. I use this paint all the time, it's one of my essential reds. I like to apply my base coats in an overbrushed fashion, getting good coverage on the model while also keeping that black undercoat in the deepest recesses for shading. For those who don't know, overbrushing is like dry brushing, but you're just keeping more paint on the brush. And don't forget, base coating like this is also fast, the most important part. Airbrushing also works great for applying a base coat like this, so just use whatever method you feel most comfortable with. The goal is just to get the red on the model. When I'm painting a larger area of red like this with lots of detail and texture, I like to add in a dry brush of Mephiston red before I get to the wash, which is another key paint in the red toolkit. I'm going to be using this colour for highlights later on, but this step is going to help build the blend and add a bit more consistency to the red before we get to the highlights. Of course, if you're painting a smaller area of red, you may not always be able to get in there with a dry brush like this, or you may not even need one if there isn't much texture. Just treat this stage as an optional step that can work for some models. Dry brushing can sometimes be considered a bit of a messy look, but the wash and future highlights we'll be doing will really make everything blend nicely, so don't worry about that. Black and brown washes both work great with red. It's all going to come down to personal choice. I'm using Nuln oil because it adds a nice black lining effect to the mini to boost contrast without really dulling the red too much at all. GW reds are so consistent and vibrant that they can take a Nuln oil bath no sweat. Of course, as with any wash, just make sure nothing's pooling too much because that's going to cause problems later. Now that the wash is all dry, we're adding the first of the highlight layers with some more Mephiston red. The effect of the wash has created some nice shading on the existing Khorne red and Mephiston red that we dry brushed, so we're really working with that at this stage and complementing the tones with these layers. The main thing here is that you don't want to be messing with any of the shading. Keep these layers to the raised areas with nice thin paint. I honestly feel like Khorne red and Mephiston red are the two best reds that GW makes. What do you think of these paints? Let me know in the comments if you use them a bunch like me, or if there are other reds you prefer. And if you're wondering about the mini, this little dragon is from the Fire Slayers range in Age of Sigmar, the perfect subject for some red in my opinion. And while this mini is small, all these techniques could easily be applied to minis of any size. In fact, I use a very similar process when I'm painting Blood Angels for a nice vibrant red. Back to the dragon, this is definitely at a tabletop ready stage when we're talking about the red, and now you can decide how much further you want to go with the highlighting. You may not want to do any more. I always like to emphasize that adding edge highlights like this is optional. A lot of this stuff you're probably not going to even notice on the table. There are lots of options when highlighting Mephiston red. I like to keep it simple with Evil Sunz Scarlet. This is a very vibrant, punchy colour, so less is more when highlighting here. When it comes to GW reds, Khorne red to Mephiston red to Evil Sunz Scarlet makes a great progression. You don't even need to mix anything, and they pretty much cover all my needs when it comes to reds. And folks, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the video. That really does help the channel get out there, and if you're already subscribed, thank you so much. This kind of red also works well as a base for orange. If you want that old school classic 90s red, you can actually highlight your bright reds with orange, but you want to keep this sharp and minimal so you don't actually turn your red into orange, which is an easy thing to do. I'm adding this orange in as a complementary colour for the red, and of course you don't need to base orange with red first, but I find it really fills out the colour and creates a nice undertone. I'm using Squig orange for all of this, but you can just as easily mix yellow with Mephiston red or Evil Sunz Scarlet in a pinch. This also gives us a chance to look at some blending, and mixing colours like this is always a great skill to be working on. I'm keeping these layers thin and watered down, while progressively adding more yellow into the mix. And it's cool to see this overall progression on the model, from a darker Khorne red, all the way up to bright oranges and yellows. You can even add some straight yellow edge highlights at the end to really make it pop. And there we have GW's best reds in action, all very useful colours that are essential for any collection. Thanks for watching everyone, why don't you check out some of these other videos, and we'll see you next time on the Hobby Grotto.